Tonight, we dive into Brain Damage by Freida McFadden, a psychological thriller filled with memory loss, betrayal, and terrifying uncertainty. A successful doctor survives a gunshot to the head, but when her memories begin returning, she realizes the real danger may still be standing beside her. Before exploring the novel itself, it's important to understand the author behind it. Freida McFadden is both a best-selling thriller writer and a physician, and that medical background gives her stories a unique sense of realism. Her novels often combine suspense, emotional tension, recovery, trauma, and psychological uncertainty, all of which become central elements inside Brain Damage. Brain Damage follows Dr. Charly McKenna, a successful dermatologist who appears to have everything: a thriving career, a beautiful apartment overlooking Central Park, and a husband who seems deeply devoted to her. But that perfect life collapses when a bullet tears through the right side of her skull. From that moment onward, the novel transforms into a dark psychological mystery centered around recovery, fractured memory, and the terrifying question of who wanted her dead. After the shooting, Charly wakes up inside a rehabilitation hospital, unable to walk, speak properly, or even fully remember who she is. Her body has been severely damaged, but the greater problem lies inside her mind. She cannot clearly hold on to the truth of what happened. The novel builds suspense by trapping both Charly and the reader inside confusion, fractured memory, and psychological uncertainty because she knows someone tried to kill her, yet she cannot fully trust her own recollections. As the story continues, the novel adopts a close and suspenseful narrative style focused entirely on Charly's limited perspective. Because she is recovering from severe brain injury, the narration naturally becomes fragmented, uncertain, and emotionally unstable. And that style becomes essential to the mystery itself, because the story is not only about solving a crime, but also about whether Charly can rebuild her identity and uncover the truth before the person who attacked her returns. Charly McKenna begins the story believing she has built a secure and successful life. She is a successful dermatologist with a thriving career, a beautiful apartment overlooking Central Park, and a husband who appears deeply supportive. In this moment, everything seems stable, a quiet life before everything changes. Dr. Charly McKenna begins her story with what looks like a perfect life: a successful dermatologist, a strong career, a beautiful apartment, and a husband who appears supportive. But everything changes in a single moment when a bullet enters the right side of her skull, leaving her severely injured and hospitalized. When she finally wakes up, she cannot walk, speak clearly, or even fully remember her own identity. The shooting damages both her body and her memory, forcing her into a journey of recovery and truth-seeking. As Charly begins rehabilitation, she slowly starts regaining fragments of memory, but these memories are incomplete and confusing, suggesting that the shooting may not have been random. Instead of only recovering physically, she is forced to confront a mystery her mind cannot fully reconstruct. Her recovery becomes both physical and psychological, because she cannot trust her own memories, and she has no way of knowing who around her might still be dangerous. As the story continues, Charly begins to closely observe the people around her, especially the man who frequently appears at her bedside. Slowly, suspicion starts building, and every relationship around her begins to feel uncertain and potentially dangerous. She must now separate fear from reality while searching for the truth about who betrayed her, because the closer she gets to answers, the more dangerous everything becomes. By the later part of the story, Charly is no longer just a victim of violence. She is actively fighting to reclaim control over her mind and her past. The fragments of memory begin to connect, slowly revealing a truth that is far more dangerous than she ever expected. What began as survival now turns into a confrontation with buried secrets and hidden betrayal, and she realizes her greatest threat may have been closer than she ever imagined. One of the central psychological themes is memory and uncertainty, where Charly cannot fully trust her own mind after the injury. This leads to a deeper question of identity, and how fragile truth becomes when memory itself is damaged. Another major theme is betrayal and trust, as the novel constantly forces us to question who can actually be relied upon. And finally, it explores recovery and resilience, both physical and emotional, as Charly struggles to rebuild both her body and her sense of self. Dr. Charly McKenna is a strong but vulnerable protagonist whose identity is completely shattered after the shooting. At the beginning, she appears confident and in control, but the injury strips away her certainty and stability. What emerges is a dual identity: the successful doctor she once was, and the confused patient she has become. This creates deep emotional tension, as she begins to question not only what happened to her, but also what is real and what has been distorted by trauma. The supporting characters in Brain Damage are intentionally written to feel uncertain and emotionally ambiguous. The husband or close relationship figure becomes a central presence whose behavior raises suspicion throughout the story. Even the medical staff and surroundings appear helpful on the surface, but their true intentions remain unclear. This creates a constant atmosphere where trust and doubt overlap, blurring the line between care and manipulation, and making every interaction feel potentially dangerous. One of the biggest strengths of Brain Damage is how it combines medical realism with psychological suspense. The brain injury is not just a plot device, it actively shapes the structure and emotional depth of the story. For some readers, the fragmented memory structure may feel confusing or disorienting, but it also enhances the psychological thriller experience. Overall, the novel is effective in blending trauma, mystery, and emotional tension into a cohesive psychological narrative. At its core, Brain Damage is a story about survival, memory, and hidden betrayal. It explores what happens when a person loses not only physical control, but also trust in their own mind. The novel transforms recovery into a psychological mystery, where healing and truth are deeply intertwined. In the end, Charly's journey is not only about surviving the shooting, but about confronting the fractured reality inside her mind, leaving a lasting reminder that the most dangerous damage is often invisible.